So, and the same with the Sumerians as well were the first people with written records in the region of Greater Babylonia. And their earlier dates present us with the same problems we find with the Egyptians. But the early biblical record, I believe, is a valid history and shouldn't be discounted in any scientific effort to determine the dates. The Bible has consistently been verified by authentic historical archaeological research. The first books of the Bible were written by Moses, 1510 to 1450 BC, and the date of the Exodus would be about 1492 BC. Chronological data in the book of Genesis indicates that creation week occurred about 4000 BC, and the date of the flood was about 2348 BC. So, but you're dealing with dates that are quite ancient. The flood may have occurred somewhere earlier, but the secular dates should be lowered as well. So, when you're trying to corroborate ancient dates, you can never have total certainty about the past from the secular records, like you find in the Egyptian and the Sumerian records. But another proof from history is that civilizations, it's significant that no truly verified archaeological datings predate the period of about 3000 BC. And when larger dates are cited, they come from radiocarbon dating, which is, I've shown you earlier, that's wrong. Or they come from Manetho's Egyptian king lists, and they're wrong. So, what about languages? You know, mankind is so intelligent that languages were soon put into written records which were left lying about in the surface of the earth. You know, the differences in dialect and language suddenly developed shortly after the flood, you know, from the Tower of Babel, which time men separated and travelled off into groups whose members could understand one another. I mean, that's the whole story of Babel or Babel is in Genesis chapter 11, verse 1 to 9. And that's where we get all our languages from. God confused. We all had one language back to Adam and Eve, but then after Babel, we didn't. See, the records of the ancient languages never go back beyond 3000 BC. Philological and linguistic studies reveal the majority of them are part of large language families, and they come from the area of Babylonia. They originated at a common centre. For instance, the Indo-European language family originated in southeastern Europe, or maybe on the Baltic. So, Indo-European, this guy, Tima, is a Sanskrit philology expert at Yale, says Indo-European, I conjecture, was spoken on the Baltic coast of Germany late in the 4th millennium BC. That's quoted in Scientific American, October 1958. So imagine that. So language is proven that the earth isn't billions of years old. And as well as that, what about the history of the Bible? I mean, the Bible speaks about a beginning. Bible dates don't exceed 6,000 years. When you add up all the dates in the Bible, you get about 6,000 years. See, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. You, O Lord, in the beginning have laid the foundation of the earth, Hebrews 1:10. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and the earth, the sea and all that is in them, Exodus 20. Since the fathers fell asleep, all things continue as they were from the beginning of creation, 2 Peter 3:4. So, there's evidence from history. Have you not read, He which made them in the beginning made them male and female? Male and female. Matthew 19:4. The invisible things of Him and from the creation of the world are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made. Now, I think those who believe the earth is billions of years old will typically try to discredit one or two of my evidences, or those evidence I've just given you, and then think that they have successfully proven the entire list wrong. That's not logical. Each evidence stands independently. What about evidence from beneath the surface of the earth? I mean, oil pressure. When drilling, they penetrate into oil. A geyser of oil spews out. And studies of the permeability of the surrounding rock indicate that any pressure within the oil bed should have bled off within a few thousand years, but this obviously hasn't happened yet. The excessive pressure within these oil beds refutes the old Earth theory and provides strong evidence that the deep rock formations and the entrapped oil are less than 7,000 to 10,000 years old. What about zircon-lead ratios? I mean, Robert Gentry discovered this. Zircon crystals were taken in core samples from 5 levels of very hot, dry, 15,000 foot hole in New Mexico. Temperatures always above 313 degrees centigrade. I mean, that's more than 200 degrees hotter than the sea level temperature of boiling water. But radiogenic lead gradually leaks out of zircon crystals and does more rapidly as the temperature increases, but careful examination revealed that essentially none of the radiogenic lead had diffused out of the superheated zircon. Well, it points strongly to a young age for the Earth. They should have gone out of it. As well as the zircon-helium ratios, when uranium and thorium radioactively decay, they emit alpha particles, which are helium atoms stripped of their electrons. The helium content of the same zircon crystals from the same New Mexico hole of Robert Gentry revealed high helium retention in those crystals. I mean, helium is a gas. It can diffuse out of crystals much more rapidly than many other elements, including lead. And since heat increases the chemical activity, all that helium should be gone. The Earth was more than a few thousand years old. Check it out, folks. Folks, the Earth is young. Absolutely. One person has actually said, well, don't dinosaurs prove the world is billions of years old, or millions anyway? Well, cave paintings by Native Americans depict a dinosaur. Down in the Grand Canyon, the Indians drew them on cave walls. You know? I've got pictures on my video. Scientists accept the mammoth drawings in the cave, so why not the dinosaur drawings? Evolutionary indoctrination that man didn't live at the same time as dinosaurs stops most scientists from even considering that the drawings are of dinosaurs. Certainly would be no embarrassment to a creationist if someone discovered a dinosaur living in a jungle. But this should embarrass the evolutionists since they say they're extinct. Well, I don't know if they're extinct or not. Some place they can find out of away places such as lakes deep in the Congo jungles. Descriptions people have certainly fit those of dinosaurs. So it's possible. But people killed them. They were known as dragons. The word dinosaur wasn't invented until 1841, for goodness sake. We don't know what happened to the dinosaurs. Scientists have suggested dozens of possible reasons, but it is a mystery, and more work needs to be done on it. The factors that cause extinction today, which came about because of man's sin, the curse, the aftermath of the flood, its judgment, are the same factors that caused the dinosaurs to possibly become extinct. That's what I believe. I think they couldn't breathe actually after the flood. But look, dinosaurs are fascinating. Dinosaurs, why are they a big deal? Well, sure, there are more important issues to deal with in today's world, such as abortion, family breakdown, racism, promiscuity, dishonesty, homosexual behaviour, euthanasia, suicide, lawlessness, pornography. We should be telling people about the gospel of Jesus Christ, not worrying about side issues like dinosaurs. Well, the evolutionist teachings on dinosaurs that pervade society do have a bearing on why many won't listen to the gospel. I mean, if we accept the evolutionist teaching on dinosaurs, then we must accept the Bible's account of history is false. And if the Bible is wrong in this area, then it's not the Word of God. And we can ignore everything else it says that we find inconvenient. However, the Bible does talk about, in Job, about a dinosaur, if you read it. And its history is true. Dinosaurs lived with man, with Adam and Eve, created on day 6. They were big lizards, that's all they were. And we've known them as dragons throughout our short history. I mean, folks, look, if the Bible is wrong, then it's not the Word of God, and we should all go out and get drunk. That's what I think. Really, do anything we want. But if it is true, if Genesis is true, the Bible is true, then it is the Word of God, and we just have to obey Him. And we know what's right and wrong. So the choice is simple. I mean, if everything made itself through natural processes without God, then God does not own us and has no right to tell us how to live. In fact, God doesn't really exist in this way of thinking, so there's no absolute basis for morality. Without God, anything goes. Concepts of right and wrong are just a matter of opinion. And without a basis for morality, there's no such thing as sin. And no sin means there's no judgment to fear from God. And there's no need for a Saviour, Jesus Christ. I mean, a teaching that dinosaurs lived and died millions of years before man directly attacks the foundations of the gospel. The fossil record, which dinosaurs are in there, documents death, disease, suffering, cruelty, brutality, billions of dead things buried in rock layers laid down by water all over the earth. The flood created all those layers, folks. I mean, a fossil record is a very ugly record. Allowing for the millions of years for the fossil layers means accepting death, bloodshed, disease, and suffering before Adam sinned. That before Adam, they were pre-Adamites, or animals leading up to Adam. And they were killing each other. And Adam wasn't the cause of that sin and suffering. But Adam was, you see, in the Bible it says he was. The Bible makes it clear that death, bloodshed, disease, suffering are a consequence of all sin. He warned Adam in Genesis chapter 2:17 that if he ate of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, he would surely die. When the Hebrew translated, you will surely die, actually means dying, you will die. In other words, immediate spiritual death will be followed by a process of physical decay, ending eventually in bodily death. I mean, as soon as you allow millions of years for dinosaur fossils, you accepted death, disease, and suffering before Adam sinned and brought death and suffering into God's creation.